there is a blessing in COVID because it required everybody to get still and get with themselves and figure out how to engineer themselves in a better place or in a much more efficient place, given that they were in a really odd space.
Welcome to Black Businesses Matter, a podcast about why Black businesses matter and the benefits of collaborating and advocating for Black businesses to drive impact. Each episode, we will cover legacy, hope, Black joy, funding sources, cultural shifts, equity, and so much more. We will provide inspiration and action while spreading some joy to a thriving community of Black business owners and leading thought leaders. Black Business Matters podcast is produced by the L3 Agency, a culturally sensitive influencer marketing and communications firm in Chicago, where relationships are our currency, passion is our profit maker, and people are our bottom line. I'm Larvetta Lofton, your host and founder of the L3 Agency. Hey there, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Black Businesses Matter. Well, I'm going to tell you all about our next guest, but I do want to tell you all that by the time you listen to this, I hope I'll still be on my high from vacation. I just want to share with our listeners that I took a much needed vacation, and I don't do this often because I've lived in this world that you have to work, and I did not learn how to also take time to rest and recharge and energize myself. So I'm excited for this interview. This is me coming off of my vacation, and I just want you all to know that I learned a lot when I was away. Of course, it was a personal vacation, but I learned a lot about learning to take time to pause and reflect and reset. And I'm truly excited to have our next guest because she certainly is just a burst of joy. And the fact that we get to bring her on the show, and I was excited that I get to bring her in the week that I'm coming off vacation. You all can't see me and you can only hear me, but I did get me a nice little tan, and I'm excited. So I'm a little brown. I like to think that I was once light skinned and now that I'm brown. So I'm really excited. I'm sure it's not going to last too long because, as you all know, I live in Chicago and it's close to winter. I mean, it's like 30 degrees and I was just in 85 degrees. But nevertheless, I'm excited for this topic. You all know we've been talking about relationships. We believe that relationships are a currency. And so our next guest is a relationship that I believe has just yielded tremendous amount of results from the moment I've met her. And I believe we've definitely crossed in the work that she's been doing throughout her entire career. And I just think relationships are important, and we're going to talk about that. So I know you guys have been waiting, like, who is she talking about? She's talking about this dope female who works for, now let me say this, she works for the YWCA Metropolitan Chicago. So I want to make sure you all understand because, you know, there's so many ways. The YMCA is the Y, but this is the YWCA. Cheryl Hudson-Jackson is the Director of Franchise and Business Enterprise for YWCA Chicago, located in the Woodline Resource Center. But she's also the owner of CHJ Consulting, an organizational effectiveness consulting business with an emphasis on being spectacular. I want to share with you her quote because I think her quote is so important because this is who Cheryl is. Finding joy in all that you do. Never lose sight of the goal and be spectacular. So we have literally the person that really brings that level of spectacular every time you talk to her because she has a proven ability. She is proven in what she does to foster positive and productive relationships with entrepreneurs, establish businesses, and she's been able to garner resources to bridge profitable results. And as you all know, we've been talking about relationships this entire season, and it's important that we're bringing someone that constantly is talking to entrepreneurs. She's talking to fund developments to help to advance entrepreneurs. And so her background comes from she's worked for companies like Motorola, Quaker Oats, HBO, and 3Com. And she holds a BS in industrial management from the Illinois Institute of Technology. And she's received certificates in human resources and management. And so I want to welcome you all to Cheryl Hudson-Jackson. Literally, this is the woman who brings the spectacular. Welcome to the show, Cheryl.
Thanks so much. I'm taken aback by everything. It just is a lovely welcome that you have just given me. I hope I live into it, but thank you. I'm so excited to be with you.
I'm so excited you're here because when I read that, I'm like, Cheryl, you personify that every time I get on the phone with you. You are definitely that, but it is your relationships that really show up and people show up. I mean, it's like, who? Cheryl Hudson? Oh, yeah, for her, I'll do it. Oh, for her, yeah, absolutely. She's got that effect. But now that I know that she's got the spectacular effect, yeah, I'm gonna call you out on that. We talk about influencers, but you've got a whole nother level, that glow that shows up. I mean, if you guys could see her, she's absolutely stunning and beautiful. But you all know we're on audio merely because I can't nail a lot of these businesses down because they're so busy. So Cheryl, just like we had to nail you down, right? We had to nail you down. So tell me, all across Illinois, right? Because you focus on specific areas with the YWCA. So just tell me a little bit about your role and your territory for our listeners.
Okay. It's interesting to be a part of this Why Now. The YW Chicago in the last 2, 3 years has acquired so many really cool businesses to round out the offerings that the community needs, that it makes the outreach now or the ability to touch so many in Illinois really vast. So I started with the YWCA in Lake County, and that facility is located in Green. And about 2 years ago, Chicago acquired it. But prior to that, Chicago had also acquired a space in DuPage County, Kane County, and Cook. So you imagine now it's Cook, which is huge, DuPage, Kane, and Lake County, which is 52 municipalities. It's just really literally all the northern part of Illinois, it seems, and Chicago. But the work that I do actually spans outside the Chicagoland area. We have the ability to do this work as a result of, and I'll say this, and people are like, there's no blessing in COVID, but there is a blessing in COVID because it required everybody to get still and get with themselves and figure out how to engineer themselves in a better place or in a much more efficient place, given that they were in a really odd space. You know what I'm saying? So people use the word, we pivoted our business, we turned our business. But what I think we did is we got a chance to look at the possibility of where our businesses could go given certain circumstances. And the why did exactly that. And being able to create relationships still in cyberspace through Zoom and Teams gave us a platform to reach people that we wouldn't ordinarily get on a regular basis. We've been able to touch entrepreneurs in Montreal, Canada, Quebec, Hawaii, Philadelphia, Baltimore, as well as Chicago, which is like so cool because it allows all our entrepreneurs to understand that they all walk the same path. They all want the same things, and it doesn't matter where you're located. They all will have the same foibles and the same scratching of their head trying to figure out what to do with their businesses, and putting them together on calls and talk about where they are in the world and how certain clients respond to certain things. It's educational for all of us. We all learn from each other. We become stronger in terms of our united front of supporting the mindset of being an entrepreneur, which, by the way, it's a lonely one. That's the reason why relationships are so important. And being able to provide them a myriad of programs, be it from understanding marketing, how to handle customer service, how to handle operations, how to just get the business basics, because sometimes people make money faster than they do the more due diligent things about making sure that they have an EIN number and they have a business plan and they have, web presence, or they have a real business bank account. So our organization, and myself specifically, works with every entrepreneur, no matter where they are. From the time they wake up in the morning and say, I don't want to work for my company anymore. I have an idea and I want to bring it to market, to individuals who have had beautiful, blooming businesses, but had not been thinking about the exit strategy for their business and what that could look like and what options they have. So I do the full circle. Wherever you're at, I'm there. And either if you're thinking about franchising your business or buying a franchise, we've got some tools and tips and resources for that too. So I live in a space where dreams can manifest. How about that? And that with the right relationships and the right resources, your dream can come true. It doesn't necessarily mean that it isn't going to have a moment of suspense, but at the end of the day, what we're hoping is that you'll have your happy ending.
And I think that, and I'll say this for listeners so that they understand, is that for some, you might remember the Y as your place for after school care, or it was your place to learn a skill. But now, and I love that you said in the world of pivot or the world of just evolution, it's now helping entrepreneurs and meeting them where they are and still servicing the community. And I think that's also important because as an entrepreneur, when you think about relationships, right? You think about them because, Cheryl, you and I met because I participated in the inaugural of BreedLove, which we'll talk a little bit about BreedLove. And I didn't have the pleasure to work with you, but I certainly heard great things about you. But what I do know is the relationships are so important because that is really how you're able to really get capital. Because really, people, when I think about these capital partners, they're buying your story, right? They're buying into you. And so understanding that, I know we've had Robert Johnson on, and he really gave us a lot of data on it, but really understanding like how the Y is really helping, namely women, to be okay with that conversation of capital and really making you deal with the operations of the business. Like it's no longer a hobby, it's a business, right? And so really helping to make sure there's a sisterhood. So I want to talk that through because Cheryl, you do an excellent job of creating the sisterhood, but I know that you also help men. So I don't want to make sure that happens, but it is a sisterhood. It's a sisterhood that makes you feel comfortable and confident that you can run this business. And that's what the Y does. And I really want to talk through from this place of relationships is how has these women entrepreneurs been able to benefit from the Y's opportunities to really help entrepreneurs to build a scalable business?
Okay. So the key thing here is, and I want to go back and create this bigger umbrella. So history, the YWCA in Chicago is 147 years old. It was the third YWCA opened in the United States. And it really happened in the latter part of the 1900s, where a religious group and a social group got together and talked about the atrocities and the issues that women were facing around the world. Every Y in the United States, all 217 of them, land themselves in communities where we listen to the pulse of what's happening for women in that community, because all communities, all families, the origin starts with a woman, and how we're able to provide women in particular and their families the support that they need, either in childcare or family support or wellness and mental services, or being able to buy a house, being able to balance a checkbook, being able to get their FICO scores up, being able to have a place for their kids to go, be it camp or after school programs, or being able to handle the fact that you're in an oppressive relationship that's putting you and your family in detriment. So we've got the sexual violence support services. But then when you get over to the other side of the house of economic empowerment, and particularly around entrepreneurship, it becomes really natural. What women have done, and particularly Black women, is that we've been always at the forefront of starting something new or creating a solution for a problem. It is one of the things that I think women come here wired with. We are solutionary bodies. We can figure out an issue, figure out how to solve a problem. It is in our DNA. And so when you look at that, it makes it so much more easier for a person like me to work with entrepreneurs every day because they're already in a solutionary mode. They're bringing their very best, and their very best is like their babies, right? They are thinking it through, how to bring it to market, how they can best showcase their child, their baby. And because of that real committed perspective, it is very easy to connect them, other women to other women, to create a sisterhood because we all have the same vernacular. We all are, have the same conversation around. We want to be our best. We want to bring our best. We have a problem to solve. And when you have that to be like the base, it makes everything else so much easier. The conversations that are happening with the entrepreneurs that I encounter are very rich indeed. And even in the one-on-ones, when I'm sitting down and talking through, be it the new entrepreneurs that are trying to get their EIN number or their business entity or figuring out how to set up a marketing plan, we really do talk about what their needs are, but we also I put them in training programs with other entrepreneurs so that they can actually introduce themselves to each other, see if there's an opportunity to be able to support each other's businesses, but moreover, give them another person to create a community with. Being an entrepreneur is a very lonely business because it's a different kind of thinking that happens there than your typical corporate American's mindset. And so having someone that you can call and say, you know what, am I losing my mind? But this is my issue. Are you encountering that same thing too? And have someone say yes, as opposed to have someone in your family or loved one that has been a corporate person from the time that they went into the workforce, and they just don't understand the plight and the perspective and the issues that you encounter on a daily basis. So relationships are so important. The why really is there to support that, I think. But moreover, I think the team that's within our Economic Empowerment Institute, specifically committed to entrepreneurship, have such a love and passion for everybody to win. The talent that I get a chance to work with every day in my peer group, to be able to sit and talk and touch and understand and get resources and pump up and cheerlead and sometimes kick in the butt our entrepreneurs to help them strive to be better is so very critical, so important, and is so necessary that I'm always in awe of some of the folks that I get a chance to work with and say, yeah, let's tag team. Actually, there's moments where I get together with one of my peers and we work with clients together because we believe that together we will be able to bring the best outcome for these entrepreneurs because that's what we stand for. So I just want to kind of set that stage because I need our audience to understand that the YW has been doing these wraparound services, lining up and supporting women, empowering women and eliminating racism for a very long time. But our stake in entrepreneurism is so, so deep because it stems from the fact that we still are looking at changing the movement of how women are perceived in this country and the power that they mass and how to make sure that they have every resource to be able to deliver and deliver well. So I'm hoping that our listeners are getting that I am really excited about what we do and that it is so necessary. It is so necessary now more than ever. And the relationships that we galvanize together is not just the right thing to do. It is a necessary thing for us to do. And that's why I'm really excited about being on this side of the house and doing this work.
And sure, I do want to just add this because I don't know that, and this is just me, this is my view. I'm not saying it's true. Because you've had your own consulting business, work for yourself, do you find that to be a tremendous help as you're working with business owners because you're familiar with having a company and running a business?
Absolutely. And it's funny because I I use all of my tearful moments and my joyful moments as great examples. And everybody kind of falls out and laughs, or they have an aha moment. I think having the ability to walk in their shoes and still walking in their shoes gives me a little extra something, a little extra secret sauce, if you may, to really help them understand that I understand. Trust is very important in this business. You've got to be able to trust somebody. You've got to make sure that the words that you're getting are legitimate and that they are vetted and that they have some credentials behind it. It is that allows then the relationship amongst the sisters to be able to exhale in a safe place together when they're really ready to talk about what's really going on in the business. And it's one thing to look at your revenues and see that they're down, but the question around them being down could be far more sophisticated and far more complex, that inevitably you have to trust someone to be able to share the totality of it. And I think because I've been there, done that, and got a t-shirt, got a pair of sweatpants and a baseball cap, it allows me to garner trust very early and be able to understand exactly where they're at and provide some options for them to consider so that they figure out what fits best for them in their situation.
And let me just say this because I want listeners to understand, because I really want to talk about how you advocate for these entrepreneurs. You know, as you all know, we run a marketing company, and Cheryl said, hey, I need you to collaborate with another marketing dope woman to come together and help us do some amazing work at the Y. And it's so powerful when we can have another ally, sister to advocate for. That is so powerful. And we don't see that enough. But when you said, hey, I need you two to come together, build something, put a proposal together, and let us know how we can amplify our message. And I don't think that there is enough of that in it, you serving as that ally, like the ally. And I think it's really, when you said support, support is good, but you really serve as that ally. Like, I want you to win and you win. And it really is genuine. And I think that's important, which is one of the reasons why I was so excited, because it's hard. It's hard. And you don't see that. We don't see that because oftentimes, and I'm just going to go a little bit deep, Cheryl, because that's just who you are. And I love that we can have that. Most of the time in our business, the people that advocate for us, the advocates, are typically men. Women are not bringing us to the table. I'm being honest. They do not bring us to the table. They do not bring us to the table and value the work we do and allow for us to get paid. Men bring us to the table and say, hey, this is a business. We want to work with them. And I think I believe it's such a disadvantage, because I truly believe when we are at the table, we're able to be more impactful. I say that all the time. When women support women, it's way more impactful than you would ever think, because of the level of what you said, being problem solvers and at the same time, also being it's a good relationship opportunity. So I do want to bring that up because that's not often. I'm telling you, as someone who's been an entrepreneur for over 2 decades, and that's not the common. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but majority of it, it's not women. It's not Black women. Let me just cut to the chase. It's not, Cheryl. It's not. And so to have you as an ally, to be able to support the entrepreneurs and allow for a safe space to be able to share, cry, laugh, cheer, toast, whatever, and do that in a warm environment and toast you for your wins, but at the same time, comfort you when you are not feeling your best. To me, that's what you provide in leading the role that you are with BreedLove. It is that. And I want to make sure that that is showcased, because we're ultimately in business to make money. We're not, I mean, we love what we do, but we're in business, but we've never had that opportunity to be able to do that. And I just want to say that you serve in that capacity as an ally. And I think part of it is because you've walked the shoe, like you've been in the shoes, like, oh my gosh, like I've been there. And I think sometimes that's what's missing when you think about this whole D&I, right? That's what's missing, is that the people that are making the decisions have no clue to what perhaps an entrepreneur or a woman entrepreneur or a woman of color or a minority is being faced with, because it looks very different, right? It looks very different. And so just having the why to be that partner to serve as your ally, I do think that's half of it. I think, okay, so it's 50% is showing up and then you've got this ally. I mean, that just says it all. It really does. And you get to be able to do it in a way that I think is genuine. And I do want to highlight because, Cheryl, there's so many organizations that are doing this, right? Oh, we service the entrepreneur. I mean, I'm seeing it everywhere, which I love. I don't think there's anything wrong. I think we need more and more. Like, we can't stop doing it. We have to continue to do that. And I'm happy that to hear that the why allows for that to be an area that is safe for entrepreneurs. And I don't know in this space that you all are doing, because I know that I'm definitely going to talk a little bit about BreedLove, but I want you to understand, or I want our listeners to understand that you really have to have this advisory board and these allies to really support you. And when you were building your business, Cheryl, did you have that?
Yeah, it's interesting. I started my business, and I think I was thinking about it since I was a kid. Well, not a kid, I guess a young woman. When I went to engineering school at IIT, I started off as a Kimmy. And by the time I was a junior, Kimmies were getting laid off. And my father was like, you better figure out how to shift your major and find something so you can make a living. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm going to do that. But throughout the whole entire time I was there, I had the privilege of working in an upward bound program, bringing in kids from across the country to teach them pre-engineering. And all the out of town kids lived in the dorm. I was their TA and I took care of them. And the majority of the people coming into that program when I was their TA happened to be young girls. And I was so excited because I always wanted to make sure that we girls were taken care of. And when you go to an engineering school, the majority of your class is male. You're like, where am I? What's the other sister in the room? Where's the other woman in this room so that we can be able to level this playing field? And so my commitment had always been when I graduated from IIT that I was going to go into business where I was always going to be female centric first. And even when I went to Motorola, instead of going there as an engineer, they had decided that they wanted to take technical people and put them in human resources so that they can be more effective in hiring people that were going to stay. And so they put me in that role and said, hey, you just came out of college, you speak college, you know exactly what we need in terms of technical expertise, and potentially you have a leg up because you're a woman and we want them. So go forth and put a college program together, an internship program together, and make this happen. And I did. And I had always said, I'm always going to be committed to helping women win. I had been in too many rooms where I was the only one, even in corporate America. I mean, when I worked for HBO, which was a cool deal, actors and artists are very different animals than engineers and vice versa, right? They're both actually on extreme spectrums. But one of the things they do have is that when you break down the eccentricness, they all have a really sense of a heart of commitment to the thing that they do. And I have always wanted to make sure that in every job I did, if there was an opportunity to bring a person of color, and particularly a female person of color, to the dance, they were the first candidates. And I make no bones about it. I interviewed everyone and I tried to make it very equal and inclusive. But my end game was I knew that I was in a very fortunate position to work for some of these Fortune 100 companies, from working for Quaker Oats, HBO, Motorola, 3Com. And at the time in which I worked for all of these organizations, there were a few minorities sprinkled here and sprinkled there. And oftentimes more men than women. And so my position was, if I made a commitment when I was like 20 years old, it was all about girl power, and I'm going to make it work everywhere I go. And I came to the why, by the way, is because I needed someone to help the Tech Girls program be able to articulate how to build a robot. And I had that skill set. It has always been my commitment to see women win and to be able to take the sting out of the perception that we don't know how to play well together. When women come together with a common cause or a focus, we are far superior on execution than we are the reason why they says behind every successful man is this fantastic woman standing behind him, because we're the ones that literally put the operations together. From an African heritage perspective, the men used to go out and get all the meat We were the ones that created schools and created aldermen and community centers and all the things that were needed in order to keep our communities thriving. So I don't see how this is any different, and to shine the light back on us. And so when I thought about what we needed at our EEI group and listing you and the other marketing firm, it made sense. You guys come with such cool and creative ideas from different ends of the marketing spectrum. Here's the newsflash, everybody. There's enough for everyone. And that is the piece that I lean on. I want to make sure that if you and the other marketing person can come together and give us the very best so that everyone wins, that's what I'm about. And that has been my motto for everything that I do. And the concept of the word spectacular, you can't say it without smiling. It is about striving to be your most spectacular self. And so when you put that in the mix of the support and women bringing all their intellect together and fueling it with girl power, we're unstoppable.
We are unstoppable. And it's, of course, Cheryl, just hearing you and knowing that you've been walking this walk, it shows up. It's just not fake. That's who you are from the moment you are engaged with your light. And it's so nice to see, considering that in the early part of my career, that, I'm not going to say it didn't happen, because my mentor, Michelle Flowers, was incredible and gave me a chance. So I did have it, but it wasn't prevalent everywhere. And so it became very lonely, as you mentioned, that you could not be able to collaborate. And I love that, because your relationships are thick. I'm just going to say that, listeners. Cheryl knows everybody. I will say this: if she knows somebody that could connect you to somebody to be able to support you, she's going to do that. And I love that about her with everything I got. Now, Cheryl, we asked this question because it is important. We know the work that you do at the Y, and now the BreedLove Center. Why do Black businesses matter?
Because they have been the backbone of how this country was built. One of the things that we need to recognize every day is that there are so many things we use every day that was built or invented by a Black person. And we forget. We would actually all have a crack up at the corner if a Black man didn't make a stoplight. We would have disease, and we would be eating food with more mold than any if we didn't have a Black man help us build refrigeration. Our clothes would be wrinkled if there wasn't an iron. We wouldn't be able to leave a message on a cell phone or a landline without a Black person. I mean, I can go on and on about ice cream scoopers and all that kind of thing. But what's even more exciting to that same point, and being able to understand how to make businesses grow. So Black Wall Street, Bronzeville, or just bringing it back to the reason why we call it the BreedLove Center. Madam C.J. Walker's maiden name was Sarah BreedLove, and she was the one that was giving 3,000 Black women, who created 20,000 more Black women working so that they could raise themselves out of poverty, raise themselves out of oppressive relationships with men who were abusing them, and creating a middle class, being able to do that without always defaulting to cleaning someone's house or cooking someone's food. And don't get me wrong, those were really important jobs and still are. But the fact that we helped each other, she helped all these women to see that there's another option, is exactly why BreedLove exists, because we're trying to give options too. Because at the end of the day, Black businesses matter not only because we have the skill set, the creativity, and the ingenuity, is because our dollars mean so much to how the world goes around. So can you imagine how far ahead we could be spending our own money with our own businesses and being able to leverage that so that our voices are clear. They don't have to be loud. They could just be. And that's why Black businesses matter. They matter because we have been here. We need to stay here. And the only way to stay here is to be able to help each other be able to identify the needs, create the solutions, and bring them to fruition. And so Black businesses matter because it's our heritage.
I'm just going to say this, and I know we're closing out. I was listening to Roland Martin. Roland Martin is Unfiltered. And I was listening to him talk about Deion Sanders with Jackson State and what ESPN did on in Jackson, Mississippi, and they've brought people from all over. And the reason why I'm bringing up, because you said Black businesses matters our heritage, and you remember Black colleges were created because Black people weren't given an opportunity to go to college, and so they started to build their own. And in it was his description is, why is it that we cannot literally do that same thing for ourselves, meaning that we needed ESPN to come on campus to be validated. And he talked about white validation. But I thought it was interesting because to that very point is when there is, and imagine if that was a Black media company that did the same thing, would the outcome be the same? And my response to that was the difference is, and oftentimes we've been told, is that they've owned everything. But the part that you said was that everything that we did or doing, a Black person created it. We just have not been acknowledged. We just haven't been acknowledged to know that these things are there. So then they're somewhat, to a certain degree, are taking credit for things that we didn't. And, when they took history, and when you said heritage, it really made me cringe, because it is, the heritage is what's missing, because we haven't been acknowledged for the things that we created. And when you said, hey, from the pressing comb down to the scoop, you're absolutely right. But how many within households, let's take Black households, know that, Cheryl? Literally, Black households in itself really know these inventors of it. So we are somewhat, because it's consumerism, we haven't been told. So we believe that somebody else created it. It wasn't us. No, that wasn't a Black person. And so the opportunities that I think that, the Y and all these institutions that are really highlighting, I think, are doing a good job of really helping to amplify these voices and making sure that these Black inventors, creators, entrepreneurs, et cetera, you name it, are given a fair opportunity to be told, which is why we're here too. So from that standpoint, I love when you said heritage, because when I was listening to Roland, it just really was an eye opener that we don't get an opportunity to showcase our heritage and still get paid for it, right? And still get paid at the same level that they get paid for it, right?
Exactly. But one of the things that is exciting for us, for you and me and all the listeners that are in the Chicagoland area, to do anything in Chicago is spectacular, right? Because you're in a place where in the Midwest, it is the mecca of everything Midwest. And it was discovered by a Black man. And you had a powerful woman like Ida B. Wells, who was in the suffrage movement to make sure that Black women were at the table too when we were looking at women's rights. Or you had Martin Luther King deciding to come here with Jesse Jackson at the unpopular time of his life, talking about unions and fair wages and workable, livable wages, and left Jesse Jackson here to continue that work. Or to have poet laureates Gwendolyn Brooks come and talk about the conditions and the energies of what Chicago brings. This city is, and of course, Bronzeville. We can't even, or in the late 60s, early 70s, when the Nation of Islam literally owned everything from 79th Street to 87th Street up and down Cottage Grove, showing us what entrepreneurship could look like and how we would shop our own shops, and them being beautiful and vibrant and have all the best and the freshest of everything for you to buy from. This city knows how to do this well. And I'm excited to be in this city doing this work, because it is going to be and continues to be the example, the beacon of how entrepreneurship should grow and should be and should move forward. And so that's the reason why the concept of heritage, just a shout out to my cousin Linda, who made her transition this past spring. She was a elementary school teacher. Her last class, or she taught at my mother's school where my mother was a principal. My mother had retired and she had been moved to my mother's school afterwards. But the one thing that I loved about Linda coming from Jackson State, or actually, is that she was all about heritage and making sure the kids knew where they came from. And so she had this huge poster, and I own it now, of 101 inventors. And I had been using that concept to teach Black history to primarily white schools here in Lake County because they didn't want the wash and repeat Black History Month people. Now, don't get me wrong. They loved Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks, but they wanted to know, was there anybody else doing anything? And so taking these 101 inventors allowed these kids and juniors and senior Black, white, and brown kids to go home and sit at the kitchen table and inform their parents that we should be very happy about a stoplight, or we should be very happy about a super soaker, or we should be very happy. I mean, the things that we do every day that we Black people in particular, actually, Black women looked at and said, we could do something about this. We can do something different. I just say that because when I think about heritage being a Chicagoan, and knowing how rich this city is and making sure that we are still fighting the good fight and making sure that we give the resources needed for us to thrive and not just thrive, but to strive and catalyze, right?
Capitalize, yes, and capitalize off of it. And I want to say this, Cheryl, and I appreciate it because I have that same book that I got, and it was the Black Inventors. And so when you started bringing up, I remember when I had that book, and I was so mesmerized by all of the inventions, and so much so that I can't remember what client I worked for. We built a whole Black history program around that. But nevertheless, I just want to share with our listeners we have Cheryl Hudson-Jackson, who is the Director of Franchise and Business Enterprise for the YWCA Chicago, and it is located in the Woodlawn Resource Center. And so I just wanted to bring that back. As you're listening, you're like, who is this woman? So I want to make sure that you guys are clear. But as we close in this episode, we like to ask all of our guests that. So sure, at all of our guests, one amazing question. We just believe it because we don't believe enough of this is talked about. But what brings you joy, Cheryl?
I have a lot. You know what? It is not that sophisticated either. The ability, 5 great things that bring me joy every day. The fact that I wake up, I'm really excited about being here this day because that gives me a whole brand new slate of creating and bringing my best self and giving my best self to the work that I do. The next thing that brings me joy is the ability to stand up straight and walk because you take that for granted, being able to walk forward and see and look and be that all the things that my body can do and do, it does it well still. To have a really, really, really good cold glass of water to hydrate my body, to be able to have a little something sweet because it just makes me smile and makes my toes curl. But moreover, the ability to do the right thing and meet people and just be a part of a community that brings me joy. Some things you can buy that's going to tickle you a little bit, but joy comes with really belonging and connecting and seeing things come into fruition. And so for me, joy is just being. How about that?
Oh, I love that, Cheryl. Oh my gosh, joy is just being. And as I sit here with my heater next to me, with my turtles are curled up, I felt all of that. And it does bring me joy because this little heater is bringing me lots of joy on this cold day. So I just want to take this opportunity, Cheryl, for people to connect with you. If you can share ways that they connect with you, if you are a business owner, or if you want to connect with the Y, with the things that they're doing with entrepreneurs across the country, you can connect with her. I want to make sure that people can connect with you. So if you want to share how they can connect with you on various platforms, email, etc.
Absolutely. If you're interested in our BreedLove Accelerator or just BreedLove in general, you can go out to ywcachicago.org and select BreedLove, and all of my information comes up. My name is Cheryl Hudson-Jackson, Cheryl with a C, Hudson like the famous Jennifer from Chicago, hyphen Jackson like the famous Michael. And I am at telephone number 312-218-8003. And I'm at Cheryl.Hudson-Jackson at YWCAChicago.org. And I look forward to your listeners reaching out. I love meeting new people. I love having the opportunity to hear their stories, learn and listen and connect. And so hopefully for those who are in the listening sphere of this wonderful podcast, if you're looking to start a business, if you have questions about entrepreneurship, or you just want to connect, just to connect, please reach out. I look forward to hearing from you. And I want to let you know, Loretta, I am thankful for you. I know that I'm truly thankful for this relationship and just thankful for all the great work that you do to make everyone aware of what's going on. So I just want to thank you. I'm very grateful.
Oh, thank you, Cheryl. I so appreciate just that right there. Just warms my heart. I'm so grateful that you were able to be a guest of Black Businesses Matter. And I just want to say to all of our listeners, again, you all know my story. Or if you don't know, I've been at this for 20 years. But if you can get a Cheryl Hudson-Jackson on your team, you're going to win. And so she's giving you all of her contact email. I mean, she's given email, phone number, as well as going to the website and connect to the BreedLove. So I just want you to know that when you see me with 22 years, know that I've been around people that are smarter than me, that have done the work, that can connect things faster. And that's how we're able to do what we do, because we are connected to so many amazing people that support us and share things with us. So, Cheryl, thank you so much. Thank you for all that you do, as well to all of the entrepreneurs, especially the women, and the support that you provide and the sisterhood. I so appreciate it. And I just want to say, listeners, thank you for listening. Thank you for rocking with us. Thank you for just allowing our dreams to come true. We are a year at this, Cheryl. 1 year. We are at 1 year, and it is our birthday. And we are excited to reach this milestone with something that was a dream that you talked about before, that dreams can be manifested. We manifested, and now we have a full-fledged podcast where people want to sponsor, where people want to support us. So we're thankful for our guests, because it's really the stories that you all have that really helps us to continue this. I know this was a long episode, but I can't let Cheryl, who's got like 4 decades of experience. I mean, you just can't cram it together. You got too many decades of experience. I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do this. I just want to say thank you guys for tuning in, rocking with us, and listening to us. Thank you guys for listening. Till next week. Thank you for joining us this week on Black Businesses Matter podcast. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast wherever you listen, so you will never miss a show. You can also follow us on social media at the L3 Agency and at Larvetta Speaks. If you love the show, leave a rating so that we can continue to bring you impactful episodes. You can also take the pledge and order our merch at our website at thell3agency.com. THEL3agency.com. Thanks for listening, and see you next week.